Hey gamers, Foxfires here, bringing you an update on ArcheAge and a bit of discussion on the state of play in the game. The launch of the long-awaited and/or dreaded patch 3.5 Erenor Eternal is coming June 7th. This patch is bringing huge changes that will once again impact how players play the game. Before we dive into some of the biggest upcoming changes, I want to take a moment to address the current state of the game. Specifically, there's been a huge hit to the player base on several of the servers, with mass exodus. Zones like Solace Headlands and Windscour, that were completely full of houses and farms before the launch of Revelation 3.0 earlier this year, are literal ghost towns now. Why is this? While some of the people have moved on to the new 3.0 zones, even many of these areas like Rakala are pretty barren. A lot of people left for fresh start servers, but more still have outright quit the game. What have been the driving forces behind the player exodus? Primarily gear, but also changes to the game. A lot of ArcheAge is focused on PvP, particularly open world PvP, so like in many MMOs, gear is incredibly important. And in ArcheAge, to gear up in general, you need gold. To make enough gold to get decently geared, you're often putting yourself at risk of PvP, like on ocean trade routes or in conflict zones. And the problem is that for new or returning players, there's a growing, insurmountable amount of catch-up in order to competitively gear up. And a geared veteran can kill an ungeared player in just a few hits, making it impossible for new and returning players to ever compete. Crowlin admitted in a recent livestream that the gear barrier and inability to competitively catch up was a major reason that players quit. Rumors have been circulating of a new round of server merges. While Crowlin confirmed that won't happen at the 3.5 launch, there seem to be hints that mergers could happen later this year when they may release new fresh start servers. Server merges really may depend on how many players 3.5 can bring back. But the gear chasm isn't the only reason players left. The launch of Revelation 3.0 further rocked the boat by shattering many player strategies to make gold in the game. There were drastic changes to the viability of many trade route setups, and the change required larder mats to include the infamously rare Royal Seed really hit a lot of players hard. Players had spent a lot of gold to get their land in a specific location, only to find that the 3.0 changes rendered it pretty useless. Rather than devise a new strategy, a lot of players were fed up and simply moved on to another game like Black Desert Online. That brings us to the big question: can 3.5 Erenor Eternal bring players back and save ArcheAge? Some of the biggest things that might bring players back are the changes to gear crafting and regrading. For crafting gear, there is no more RNG involved. That's right, no more RNG. When you craft a piece of gear, you will be able to uncloak it, meaning that you can choose the type that it comes out as. For example, an illustrious desert versus typhoon versus gale or earth. Being able to choose this means you always get the gear with the stats that you're looking for, and you can change it by sealing it again and choosing a different version. So rather than that Ethereum piece just being a dead end because you can't upgrade it, all of these pieces can continue to be crafted up to Ionad. Changes to the crafting recipes include wisps that are matte requirements. They've been replaced by Archeum. Gilda dust has been replaced by charcoal. One small catch is that each time you upcraft the item, it returns to the basic quality. Though the upgraded Armorer's House will still give a good chance for the piece to start out at grand or higher quality. In light of this, you may want to craft a single piece up as high as you can before regrading it. Obsidian pieces should retain their grade as always, but they will have a lower success chance than the Ionad line of craftable gear. And that brings us to regrading. Regrading is becoming a lot easier and a lot more transparent with this patch. For starters, your chances of success, downgrade, and destruction will appear as explicit percentages in the regrading window. Additionally, the percentages for regrade successes have been increased across the board. For example, a piece of gear that once only had a 30% chance of regrading success may now have more than 60% chance success. This success now also depends on the type of gear you're wanting to regrade. For example, World Boss drops and Obsidian pieces will be harder to regrade, the Ionad line will be of medium difficulty to regrade, and the dungeon drops will be easy to regrade. Also new, you will now be able to use regrade charms for ship sails and pet accessories, and these have their own separate tables of success rates. Briefly, I'll also mention that Erenor is the new tier after Ionad, and the mat requirements will make it necessary to participate in new zone events, and there's a new gear quality after Mythic called Eternal, hence the patch name Erenor Eternal. Overall, the huge changes to gear crafting and regrading together will make it much easier for new and returning players to get geared up. This actually might draw players back to the game. There are major changes coming to trading, though, again, that are really going to rock the boat. Since the game's launch, you could run packs from pretty much any zone in the southern continents to any other zone on that continent for gold, or to the seaports on the opposite continent for charcoal or / resources. Some packs are worth more based on the distance and the number of conflict zones you have to traverse. While 3.0 brought a tedious pain of longer overland routes and decreased silver per time, 3.5 is majorly restricting trade routes. In order to get charcoal, there are now going to be 3 legs of the trade route journey to be required. The first leg starts with a pack you can craft on some continent, say Nuya or Haranya. That pack must be turned in for gold at that continent's seaport trade towers. For example, you can't craft a pack in Animar and take it to Gwynedd, or Halcyona and take it to Villanelle. You have to take it to Two Crowns, Soulsreed, or the Cinderstone port. You can't craft a pack in Rakala and take it to Two Crowns. You have to take it to Yennester, Villanelle, or Solus ports. Completing this first leg adds to the amount of quote-unquote cargo packs available at the port trade tower. This is not at a 1-to-1 ratio, which I'll mention in a minute. You or someone else can then initiate leg 2 by purchasing the cargo packs from the tower to take across the ocean to a different continent's seaport for gold, not resources like charcoal, not Guildastars. Turning in the cargo pack at a different continent's seaport adds to the certified packs at that port's trade tower. Then you or someone else can initiate the third leg of the route to turn in the certified pack into one of a few specific places on that continent for charcoal. For example, Falcorth, Archimeris, or Paranor for Haranya, Aubrey Cradle, Hellswamp, Gwynedd Forest for Nuya. Auroria packs have also been thrown into the mix of all of this by using the same principle, where the first leg is turned into Diamond Shores for cargo, and then the cargo packs taken to a southern continent seaports, and then onward to the third leg, as I mentioned a second ago. There are even a few more complexities to this. 1. Say you wanted to chain haulers together for the first leg of the overland route. You must now buy a 10 gold item from a vendor that lets you follow on a vehicle for 20 minutes. You cannot do this anymore without the item. 2. There's a protection bubble that acts like a Nui statue around the seaport trade towers in the southern continents, but not at the Diamond Shores Tower. So you can expect some PvP there for sure. 3. There's an oceanic NPC ship route from Austera to Two Crowns, and one from Yennester to Soulsreed, where you can purchase protection from the captain for 5 gold per passage. As long as you're in close range of this ship, maybe 35 meters, we need to confirm that on the PTS, you receive a bubble of protection like the Nui statue. Maybe there's room here where you could launch your merchant ship and just stay close enough to this captain's ship. That's not quite clear. Again, it's something we'll have to test on the PTS. 4. You can purchase a shadow merchant item for 20 gold. You can then click on the item to summon a shadow NPC that lasts 5 minutes. As long as this NPC is in the protective bubble of that seaport trade tower, you can interact with it to sell and maybe even buy packs. If you can get your ship close enough to the tower and summon the NPC right beside your ship, this may be a way to massively decrease the pack load and unload times. We'll have to test the positions, ranges, functionality, all of this on the PTS when it comes up. 5. The value of cargo packs is dependent upon the amount of time that it takes you to turn them in. For example, if it takes you between 30 minutes to 2.5 hours, you only get 100%. So you really don't want to go over that 30-minute mark. You don't really want to go over the 2.5 hour mark if you can't get it in that first 30 minutes either, because at 2.5 hours, all the way up to 6 hours, it drops to 80%. And if it takes you longer than 6 hours to turn the pack in, it's 60%. 6. The Friedrich Gold Trader has been removed from the game. As you can imagine, players have several concerns about these trade changes. The time that it takes to get charcoal has been massively increased. Pre 3.0, you could load a merchant ship, run from Halcyon to Solus, and unload in 20 minutes for good charcoal returns. Post 3.0, you really needed to run the extra bit to Villanelle for good returns. With 3.5, you've got this 3-leg journey that's involved, which substantially adds to the time. You've also got the risk of crossing the ocean, and that risk has never been greater before. At this point in the game, some of the players are incredibly geared, and they already camp the seaports. Now, with all the packs being required to come to and out of just these few ports, the prospect of PvP and pack contention is almost guaranteed. Even if you were to try to take cargo packs by land away from the port before sailing across the ocean with them, your opponents will see you buy these cargo packs off the NPC. And they can easily follow you because they know you're running against the clock to turn those packs in before they devalue. Also, the ratio. So the ratio to make these cargo packs is not 1-to-1, and this may really limit the supply of charcoal. For example, cheese packs, which are much rarer post 3.0, and there's no change in sight for the Royal Sea Drop. It takes 4 cheese packs to make 1 cargo pack. It takes 8 fellowship or fertilizer packs to make 1 cargo pack. And it takes 14 regular packs to make 1 cargo pack. Those ratios seem kinda crazy. Also, everyone, or most everyone, hates overland routes. Given these ratio differences, there may be a serious shortage of cargo packs to buy at the trade tower. So if you want to run cargo packs, you may have to do the leg 1 trade work yourself. And even if you run a lot of leg 1 packs trying to get a decent number of leg 2 cargo packs to run, you don't have priority to buy those leg 2 packs off the tower. Someone else camping the NPC can beat you to it. Again, the possibility for trolling here is pretty high. Lastly, because the leg 1 packs must go to a seaport on the continent where they are made, making packs in several of the zones may not be worth it anymore. For example, making a leg 1 pack in Villanelle, it may have pretty poor returns for gold because of the close proximity to the other ports. So once again, this could render players' current land and trade strategies useless. It'll be critical to see the trade values when the PTS comes up, but that won't really give enough time for players to react before the patch goes live on June 7th. As much as the gearing and regrading changes could bring back players, the changes to trading again could drive even more away. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts about the upcoming changes. And as always, thanks for watching, gamers. I'm Foxfires, and this has been an update on ArcheAge.